everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. Today I want to clear up what is apparently a very common misconception, which was brought to my attention via way too many comments on my Bridgerton video. So, let's talk Regency court dress. For those not familiar with the term court dress, it was a very elaborate style of dress that rulers required be worn at court. Generally, this involved long trains, sumptuous fabrics, exquisite trimming, goldwork, jewels, feathers, etc. But specifically, we are going to be looking at the, in my opinion, highly underrepresented Regency court dress. Now, technically, when we look at the two sort of heads of fashion in Western society, we are looking at England on one hand and France on the other. And in most eras, I would argue that fashions in these two locations were really quite similar. But this is not true of court dress during the Regency period, aka the 1790s through 1820s, or when George the not quite yet fourth of England served as regent for his father, George III. In France during this time, there was a lot going on. You know, like the Revolution, Reign of Terror, Rise of Napoleon, Exile of Napoleon, Restoration of the Bourbons, etc., etc. For a brief period of time, the fashion star here was Empress Josephine, who dictated the French Regency court fashion. If you've seen Bridgerton, the opening court presentation scene is a wonderful example of French court fashion. Fine white dresses decorated with metal embroidery and long, beautifully embellished mantles with long trains. But Bridgerton takes place in England. So what was going on in England's royal court at that time, fashion-wise? Let's just say it was not quite so elegant. Contrary to apparently popular belief, Queen Charlotte and her court did not wear fashions that were 50 years out of date. What she did do was require that hoops be worn at court. This resulted in a very odd style combination. The waistlines of English court gowns matched the waistlines of general Regency fashion. In other words, it was just below the bust. But when you require a dress like that to also be worn over hoops, you get this rather odd mashup. According to Candace Hearn, who has a great article on Regency court dress that I've linked below in the description, and a ton of other information on the Regency period in general on her site, the rules of court stated that ladies should wear skirts with hoops and trains, and that white ostrich feathers should be worn in the hair. These rules had come about much earlier in the 18th century, and made a lot more sense when you think about the grand peignets of the 18th century court styles. But as styles began to change, Queen Charlotte stuck with the old rules for court dress, even as her own dress outside of court adapted with the times. And thus, the completely ridiculous, at least to modern eyes, English Regency court dress was born. And just as a quick tangent, I do want to reiterate that Queen Charlotte's style did change with the times. You can see that very easily by looking at portraits of her from later in life, such as these. Anyway, back to English Regency court dress. Last month, Pinsent Tailoring read some great descriptions of several court gowns in his video review of the Bridgerton costumes, which I will link below. So instead of repeating those descriptions, what I want to share with you here, while we look at some of these amazing court gowns, is a description by Richard Rush, the U.S. Minister to the United Kingdom, which he wrote after a visit to the court in 1818 and can be found in his work Recollections of a Residence at the English and French Courts, which I have linked down below. If the scene in the hall was picturesque, the one upstairs transcended it. The doors of the rooms were all open. You saw in them 1,000 ladies richly dressed. All the colors of nature were mingling their rays together. It was the first occasion of laying by mourning for the Princess Charlotte, so that it was like the bursting out of spring. No lady was without her plume. The whole was a waving field of feathers. Some were blue like the sky, some tinged with red. Here you saw violet and yellow, there shades of green. But the most were like tufts of snow. The diamonds encircling them caught the sun through the windows and threw dazzling beams around. Then the hoops! I cannot describe these. They should be seen. To see one is nothing, but to see 1,000, and their 1,000 wearers. Each lady seemed to rise out of a gilded little barricade, or one of silvery texture. This, topped by her plume and the face divine interposing, gave to the whole an effect so unique, so fraught with feminine grace and grandeur, that it seemed as if a curtain had risen to show a pageant in another sphere. It was brilliant and joyous. I had already seen in England signs enough of opulence and power. Now I saw, radiating on all sides, British beauty. Isn't that a lovely description of this very interesting fashion? Of course, this was a very niche, short-lived style that went away when George IV took over the throne as king in 1820. It was never adapted by the general public and only worn by ladies attending court. As far as I know, this style of dress has never been presented on screen in TV or movies, which is really a shame, and I know of very few costumers who have even attempted to make such a style. This is a recreation by the modern mantua maker, and if you want to see a couple of others, I have linked a blog post of hers in the description, containing additional pictures of her gown and of the other two lovely ladies I know of, Jennifer and Sophia, who have also made English Regency court gowns. I've recently been tempted to add Regency court dress to my to make list, but to be honest, it would be so entirely unflattering that I doubt I will ever do it. Who wants a hooped protrusion around their natural waist and stomach? So, yeah, as much as I would like to make something that truly weird, it's probably not going to happen. Anyway, I hope I was able to share some interesting information with you about this really wacky slice of fashion history. And I encourage you to Google Regency court dress to find even more of these bizarre fashion plates. In the description below, I have also linked a great Pinterest board created by Jennifer containing many Regency court dress fashion plates. Anyway, if you liked this video, please be sure to click the thumbs up icon, and if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a video. I do post videos here on YouTube twice a week, with my sewing vlogs on Tuesdays and other costuming content like this out on Saturdays, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's @LadyRebeccaFashions. And if you would like to support me and all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi account down below. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!